Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. My name is Miss B and I am so excited to jump into this math lesson with you all. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all and you can just follow along with me. Okay, so today, as you can see here on this slide, we are going to be talking about using bar graphs to answer questions. Maybe you've watched some of my lessons before, and I have done a video on how to build bar graphs, but today we're going to be talking about how you can collect information and also just answer important questions using bar graphs. We will also be building a couple just for some refresher, but if you would like to go a little bit more in detail about how to actually build those, you can check out another lesson. All right, so I always like to go into our standard and objective before we jump into our lesson. And the reason why is so that you guys know what you should be learning and you can decide if you feel comfortable or if you feel like you need to put in a little bit more work. So our objective is by the end of this lesson, you will be able to use your knowledge of bar graphs to answer questions about given data. So basically, we will be looking at bar graphs and you will be able to answer questions that are asked based on your knowledge of how to read and interpret bar graphs. And then our standard, which is just making sure that we are doing what the state and what all the other kids your age are doing. Our standard is to draw a picture graph and a bar graph with a single unit scale to represent a data set with up to 4 categories. Solve simple, put together, take apart, and compare problems using information presented in the graph. So that is what our standard is, and we're going to go ahead and move on and talk about materials. Materials are what you might need in order to follow along with this lesson. So the first thing that I highly recommend is grabbing some paper. It can be any kind of paper that you have. I like to use blank paper, but if you only have lined paper or graph paper, that is okay. And of course, writing utensil. Preferably, if you could grab more than one, that would be awesome. Have some different colors. I like to have lots of colorful markers. But if you prefer pens or colored pencils or crayons, whatever it may be, go ahead and feel free to use those. So this is where you can pause this video and grab the materials you may need. All right, hopefully you guys have all had the chance to grab what you need and we can go ahead and jump on in. Okay, so we are going to be talking about bar graphs. By now you guys might know how to make a bar graph, but we will make one together just to refresh your memory. Here's the information. It says, Hannah has a jewelry collection with 6 rings, 6 bracelets, 9 necklaces, and 4 pairs of earrings. Create a bar graph to represent this data. So we're basically taking all the different pieces of jewelry that Hannah has, and we're representing their amounts with bars on a graph. So I'm actually going to stop sharing for just a second. Don't worry, I will bring the screen back. But go ahead and grab that very first piece of paper. And I'm just going to walk you through how to create this graph again if you forgot or you do not know. So what I like to do is I start by picking a color. That is our first step, is to pick a color. So I'm going to pick this dark green color. And you draw kind of like a big L. It's not really an L, but it kind of looks like one. So this is what we are starting with. The next thing we do is we label. So I am going to label the y-axis, which is the vertical axis, the up and down axis. I'm going to label that up to 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I like to go all the way up to 10, even if we don't have a number 10. It's just nice to see that scale from 0 to 10. So from there, what I'm going to do is label the x-axis. The axis that is horizontal, it goes this way. I am going to label it with the items that we are going to be graphing. So in this case, we are graphing rings. Okay, rings. Next is, let's see, bracelets. Okay, bracelets. Next is necklaces. And finally, earrings. Okay. So now I have both the x-axis and the y-axis taken care of because I have my numbers on the y-axis, my items on the x-axis. Now we just need to create a label so that the audience knows what we are talking about. So I'm actually going to grab another color and I'm going to write for the x-axis, I'm going to say jewelry items. And on the y-axis, I'm going to say how many, because we want to know how many of each item are there. Okay, so now that everything is labeled, we can go ahead and get started. So I am going to share my screen with you guys again so that you can see the figures that we're looking at, the information. So this is about how yours should look. It's okay if you use some different colors or maybe your spacing is a little bit different. When you just do it by hand, it is not going to be perfect, but it will still give us a good idea of how these bar graphs will look. So I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to pick pink. I'm going to start with rings. How many rings are there in this problem? 6. Awesome. So I am going to take my color and I am going to look at my y-axis, find the 6, move it over to find where rings is, right? And I'm going to draw just a little line. What I like to do from there is I need to set it down. Sorry about that. I create a bar above where it says rings, okay? And then I do like to color that in. You do not have to color it in if you don't want to. I do because I think it gives kind of a more dramatic look of, a more dramatic representation so people can see it a little bit better. It's just more colorful. So here, even if we didn't have this problem in front of us, we know that there are 6 rings because all we have to do is go up to 6, move our line over, and there it is, 6 rings. Now let's move on to bracelets. How many bracelets are there? Okay, 6 bracelets as well. Awesome. We have the same amount for both, which is kind of rare. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, find that 6, move my finger over, make a line. Perfect. I'm going to create my bar, and again, I like to color it in, so I'm going to do just that. Color, color, color. It's okay if yours is not perfect. I always say that, but it's so important to me that you guys know that because our work is not always going to be perfect, and that is okay. So we have bracelets. And of course, since they're the same amount of rings and bracelets, they're going to come up to the same space up here. So let's go ahead and move on to necklaces. Now, how many necklaces does Hannah have? Okay, I'm going to get my brand new color, which I am deciding on. Let's actually do an orange. That would be fun. She has 9 necklaces. So I'm going to go up, put my finger up here. I found the 9 and move over to where it has necklaces on this side. So I'm actually going to put my board down so I can draw this nicely. And then I will pick it up and show you guys again. Okay. All right, I am now drawing my bar. Perfect, gonna color that in. Like I said, I always like to color it in. Not perfectly, but just for fun. Okay, perfect. So now, when you guys look at your chart, it should look like this. We have two bars for rings and bracelets, and then we have another one for necklaces. Now, finally, earrings. How many pairs of earrings does she have? 4. Awesome, awesome job. So let's find that 4 on our y-axis. Move our finger over and create a bar for earrings. Perfect. I like to color mine in, so that is exactly what I'm going to do here. Okay, once you're finished with that, you should now have a complete bar graph. This is just a visual representation of the information that we have been given. So, I would like for us to answer these questions together by looking at our bar graph. We're not looking at the information anymore that was on the last slide. Now we are just looking at our bar graph and answering these questions. Okay. Which piece of jewelry does Hannah have the most? We'll take a look at your bar graph. Which one has the most? Necklaces, right? Necklaces. Whoops, I'm going to move that. So Hannah has the most of the necklaces. And now, which piece of jewelry does Hannah have the least of? The least. Earrings. Great job, you guys. And again, all we're doing is looking at our bar graph to solve this. Okay, does Hannah have more rings or necklaces? Which one do you guys think she has more of? Take a look at your graph. Find rings. Let's see, it's right here. And this is necklaces. Which one does she have more of? Hopefully you said necklaces. She has more necklaces than earrings. Now, next question. Does Hannah have the same amount of 2 jewelry items? Look at our bar graph. Does she? Yes, she has the same amount of rings and bracelets. And for a little bonus, you can add how many of those does she have? She has 6 each, right? Okay. How many items does Hannah have all together? Now, this one is just a little bit tricky, but that is okay. All you need to do is start at your very first bar here and see how many are there. So, I see that there are 6 rings. So, I'm actually going to write a 6 above the bar here. Now, look at the second one. How many bracelets? Well, it's the same as rings, right? So I'm going to write another 6. Perfect. Now, how many necklaces? Go up, 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 up. 9 necklaces. Perfect. And how many earrings? 4. All right. So all we need to do to find out our total is add together 6 plus 6 plus 9 plus 4. So let's go ahead and start. What is 6 plus 6? 6 plus 6 is 12. Awesome job, you guys. 12. Now what's 12 plus 9? Does anyone know? 21. 12 plus 9 is 21. Awesome. Now what is 21 plus 4? 25. So Hannah has 25 items. Awesome. Hopefully this looks correct to you guys. These answers look correct. I know they sure do look correct for me. Okay. So we are going to be moving on to our next question. And actually with this question, I am not going to have you build a bar graph because I have already created one. I really want this lesson to not be so much about building bar graphs, but mostly just interpreting the information that you can find from bar graphs. So I am actually going to stop sharing for a second so you guys can have a kind of a better view of this bar graph that I created. All right, so the information here is that, let me see. Kenneth asked his friends what their favorite season is. And it looks like 9 of them said summer, 5 of them said spring, only 2 said winter, and 6 said fall. So this is what that looks like. I am going to share my screen with you all again so you can look at this, but I'm still going to keep this up so you can answer the questions. Okay. So, which season was the most favorite? Which season was the most popular? Summer. Summer was the most popular. Now, which season was the least favorite? Winter. And I don't know why that is because I love winter. Did more people like spring or fall? So, look at spring and fall. Do you think more people liked spring or more people liked fall? I think more people liked fall. Not only can we just see that this bar is higher, but if we actually look at the numbers, 6 people liked fall and only 5 people liked spring. Let me see. Yes. All right. So, whoops. And then how many students were asked all together? Now, this is the same thing that we did last time. All we need to do is look at how many total people were asked on each column and then just add them together. So on the first column, we have 9 people who said that was their favorite. So I'm going to write a 9 at the top of that column. Let's look at spring. Spring. We have 5 people who liked spring. Now, what about winter? How many people liked winter? Only 2. Only 2 people liked winter. I cannot believe it. And on this last one, 6 people said fall. So to find out altogether how many people were asked about this and how many votes altogether there were, all we need to do is start by adding them together. So let's add 9 plus 5. What is 9 plus 5? Just say it out if you know it. 9 plus 5 is 14. Now, what is 14 plus 2? What's 14 plus 2? 16. Awesome job, you guys. Now, what is 16 plus 6? 16 plus 6. And the answer is 22. So that means Kenneth asked 22 of his friends about their favorite season. Maybe he asked his classmates, and that is how they came up with that. So those are our final answers. We got all of that data just from reading the chart. We did not even really have the question in front of us. We were just able to interpret that chart. So now what I would like to do is, now that we've answered those questions, I'm going to create a bar graph with you. And then I would like for you guys to answer questions on your own. So grab another piece of paper. Awesome. I have a blank piece. And let's look at the information we have. It says, Willow started a bakery with her grandma. They received 4 cake orders, 4 cake orders, 4 cookie orders, 6 orders of bread, and 2 cupcake orders. Create a bar graph to represent the given information. So we are going to use this information and just put it into a bar graph. So what is our first step here? Our first step is just to simply pick up a marker and create our big L, right? We are creating our big L, and it doesn't matter what color you use, or even if it's perfect, just do your best. All right, what's our next step? If you know it, say it out loud. Okay, hopefully you said that it is time for us to label our X and Y axis, and that is correct. We're starting with 1, 2, I'm gonna go all the way up to 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Awesome. And now we need to label the x-axis with the items that we are trying to represent the information for. So we are going to write on the x-axis cake, cookie, bread, and cupcake. So cake, cakes, cookies, bread, and cupcakes. Awesome. I am going to get a new color and just write a little bit of a label here. Hopefully you guys can see here. I'm going to stop sharing so you guys can see. I have cakes, cookies, bread, and cupcakes. I'm going to just write a little label and just say on the bottom, I'm going to say bakery items, right? And then on this side, whoops, I don't really have enough room on this side, so I'm going to write it down this side. I'm just going to say amount of orders, okay? So our audience knows that we are talking about the amount of orders they have received in each bakery item. So this is what your final chart should look like, but let's go ahead and create our bar graph so that you guys can answer these questions. I'm going to jump back into sharing my screen with you all so you have the information just as I do as well. Okay, so let's look first at cakes. How many cake orders were there? Grab a color. All right, there were 4. So find our 4 on the y-axis. Draw your line here. And if you're like me, I like to color this in, so go ahead and do just that. Perfect. Colored that in. Awesome. Now let's look at cookies. How many cookie orders did we have? We had 4 cookie orders, so we can do the same thing, find it on the y-axis here, and just trace our fingers over. Great, and color that in if you're like me and you like it nice and colorful. Perfect. Now let's look at bread. How many orders of bread did we have? 6 orders. Okay, 6 orders. Let's go ahead and find the 6 on the y-axis and make our bar in line with the 6. Okay, and again, go ahead and color that in if you'd like. I know that I like to color it in just to make it more colorful, make it pop a little bit. All right, and finally, cupcakes. How many cupcake orders did she receive? 2, just 2. So find that 2 on the y-axis and write it out in a bar graph form here. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to exit out of this, and this is what I would like to show you, okay? This is how yours should look. If you guys need to write the amount at the top, you can go ahead and do that. But if you feel confident to just jump on in and start to solve problems, you can also do that. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you have access to the questions that are being asked. And this is the time where I would love for you to pause this and take this time of independent practice to just answer the questions on your own, and then we'll go over them to see if you guys got the correct answers. Okay, so hopefully you guys paused and you filled out these answers and you feel like you did well on them. Here are the answers. So the first question, which item did they receive the most orders for? And that is bread. Second question, which item did they receive the least amount of orders for? And that was cupcakes. Did more people order cake or cookies? Both items received the same amount of orders, 4 orders each. And the last question, how many total orders did they receive altogether? And the answer is 16 orders. All right, 16 orders. Those are all the answers for this for these questions. Make sure you got them right. If you didn't, be sure to ask an adult to help you out and maybe explain them to you. But that is all I really have, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Here is our objective again. Again, I just always like to go over it to make sure you guys feel good about it. It was, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to use your knowledge of bar graphs to answer questions about given data. Do you all feel like we have reached this objective? You can give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or maybe a fist in the middle if you're not quite sure. All right, hopefully you guys gave me that thumbs up and you feel good to go. I know I feel like we learned a lot about bar graphs and how to interpret them and kind of apply our knowledge there. But that is all I have for you guys today. So I hope that you guys have just an awesome rest of your day. Keep using this knowledge, keep learning, and just have a great day. Bye-bye.